why aren't you gonna tell us about more countries in Europe? Because like we're gonna be back here for like quite a very long time.
Yeah, well, we can learn more about Europe. I can tell you about other countries in Europe. It's just today we'll do South America, we'll do Argentina, and then we're going to go back to Portugal and Europe later this week. In fact, maybe it's even tomorrow. I don't remember. I think it's Thursday. But we'll get back to Europe, and we can do more. How's that sound? You approve? You approve the plan?
I think you're going to run out of
10 stars.
Soon.
I don't think I'm going to run out of countries. Do you know how many countries there are in the world?
How many?
Guess.
40,100.
That's actually exactly right. I'm just teasing. There's 200 though. There's more than 200 countries. It's a lot of countries. You know how many? You know how many countries 200 countries is?
How many?
It's like 200 donuts, except instead of donuts, it's countries.
Hayden, can you move? That's so weird. Getting into more space. My leg was like and then
your legs
scooted and then
both of you need your legs to go in front of you, so both of you can be a part of what's happening. Okay, legs go in front, not behind. Got it?
Okay.
All right. So, what do you know about Argentina?
It's a new part of. It's a new country. Continent.
Yep, new country and a new continent, both. Do you know where it is on the map?
Yeah, that's right. There were all those little yellow stars in that one place.
Yep, that's exactly right. And a lot of these yellow stars are right here because that's where the capital is. It's called Buenos Aires. And that's where I lived for a couple of months. But I also got to travel around. And if you look at the land here, you can see that Buenos Aires is right by this water, right? And that's why it's where the city was. Oftentimes cities are right by a river or right by the ocean so that they can go on boats and go and trade or they get access to the water. But they also have all this other land. And you see how a lot of it's brown?
Yeah.
It's mountains, and then up in the northwest, it's deserts. So they have desert, they have mountain, they even have snow down in the south. They've got cities, they've got beaches, and it's actually the closest country to Antarctica of any country. See how close it is to Antarctica?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can get to Antarctica from Argentina in 3 days by boat. Only 3 days. Which sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot. Because if you tried to go from South Africa, it would take you like 2 weeks to get there. Or if you tried to go from Australia, it would take you like 10 days. Or if you tried to go from Pennsylvania by boat, it might take you a month to get there. But from Argentina, you can get there in 3 days. Pretty fast.
You're close to Argentina.
You saw me on the map?
Yeah, you're kind of close to it.
I am actually all the way over here. So these are some of my friends. I can see where my friends are on the map. But technically, we're both pretty far. Pennsylvania is right up here. Right up here.
Where are we?
See where the mouse is?
Where are we? Where are we?
Can you see where the mouse is, or does that not show?
Oh, yeah, I see the little thing. Yeah, I see.
That's Pennsylvania up there. And then Argentina is all the way down here, and Taiwan's all the way over here. So in between me and Argentina, it's mostly just ocean. In between you and Argentina, there's a lot of countries, including Colombia, where your mommy went and came and hung out with me.
True.
Are you going to teach us about Colombia one day?
Sure. I thought maybe your mom would want to lead that session, but I'm also happy to help. What do you guys think? Who would you rather have you teach about Colombia?
Both.
Both? Tag team. That can be arranged. All right, so some fun things to know about Argentina. Maybe you already noticed this on the map. It's a pretty big country, isn't it? There's a lot of land there compared to some of these other countries that are a lot smaller, right?
Yeah.
In fact, Argentina is one of the 10 biggest countries in the world. So of all the 200 countries, it's in the top 10 of largest.
Wait, it's the biggest?
Not quite the biggest, but it's one of the 10 biggest. So it's pretty big. Russia's the biggest, and then Canada and China and the United States are really, really big. Brazil is really big. That's the one that's right next to Argentina.
Where's the United States?
It's right where you are. It's where Pennsylvania is, silly.
No, the United States on the thing you just showed us.
Oh, on the chart? They're number 4.
Yeah.
It's the 4th largest in terms of the amount of land. Because Russia's the biggest. Remember, if we look at Russia, look how much land Russia has. They're up here. They've got all this land. And then there's Canada, which is just north of the US, and they've got all this land. But then you've got the US, which has this land, and Alaska, which is really, really big up here.
That makes us a lot bigger.
And China is really big too. So it's China and Russia, Canada, and the US. The ones in these 4 countries here are the biggest in the world. But Brazil and Argentina are also pretty big. Most of the other countries are pretty small.
We're bigger than Argentina.
We are.
That's true. That's true.
Much bigger.
It's kind of like your dad compared to you. Your dad, in this case, would be the United States, and you, Hayden, would be Argentina. Does that make sense?
What would I be?
How big are you compared to Hayden? I feel like you guys are similar size. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I'm very close. So I would probably be like India.
Yeah, you would maybe be India. And then mom and dad would be like the US and China. And then Pops would be like Russia, because he's huge. He's enormous.
No.
You think God would be like Russia?
God would be like Russia.
Okay. All right. So even though Argentina has tons and tons of space, they don't have that many people. They have 44 million people. Do you remember what other country had around 40 million people?
Uh-huh.
What country?
One.
Morocco.
It was Spain from yesterday. Spain and Argentina are actually just about the same size. So Spain's a lot smaller as a country, but there's way more people. Well, way more people for the space. Argentina has tons of space, but because not a lot of people live in the mountains, they just kind of live in mostly the cities over here on the edge. They only live in sort of a smaller area, but they have about the same amount of people between the 2 countries. Which means it's about 4 times as big as Pennsylvania, and about the US is 10 times as big as Argentina in terms of how many people. If you think about South America as an entire continent, so this entire continent, all the countries put together, the number of people who live in all these countries is pretty much the same as the number of people who live in the United States. So the United States has almost the same number of people as all these 15 countries together.
Wow, it's interesting, huh? Hey, can you move to back a little or to the side a little so your sister can see too?
I hope your probably can't see you very well, at least.
Ooh, look at these pictures, you guys.
Whoa.
So one of the things that I really liked about Argentina is how beautiful it is. The mountains there are some of the most beautiful mountains in the entire world. And the United States is actually very beautiful as well. When you travel around the US, I tell people that the United States is the most beautiful country I've ever been to, even though I've traveled a lot.
Really?
Argentina, But Argentina is up there as well, and actually so is China when you get out into the mountains of China. And it's often because the really, really big countries, they have so much land. So they have very weird and interesting and diverse things to see. And so these are some examples of the mountains down in Argentina. And look how reflective the water is. Like some of these photos, you know, the water is so pure, it almost looks like a mirror. Isn't that crazy? Sneezes. Do you guys like the mountains?
Yeah.
Do you prefer mountains or beach?
Mountains. Both.
Both. It's okay. You can like both. So they have really beautiful mountains, and they even have glaciers, giant chunks of ice. This ice is so big, it's like the size of all of Philadelphia and like half of Pennsylvania. It's a huge block of ice. It's like an ice cube the size of 100,000 houses.
100,000 donuts.
100,000 donut houses. It's
There's a cave in that one. A cave, look. Yeah.
Weird. You know, one of the crazy, oh, I see, yeah. And one of the crazy things that happens with this glacier is because it's really, really cold in the center where it's surrounded by ice, but it's warm on the outside with the sun coming down on it. So sometimes big chunks of ice fall off the side of this giant ice cube. And so you can see ice floating in the water, right?
That's dangerous.
It is dangerous. It's very dangerous because the pieces of ice that fall off this, it's hard to tell from these pictures, but the side of this giant glacier, it's like 6 houses tall.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell. It doesn't look that tall from the picture.
Yeah, it's really hard to see. But if you imagine 6 or 7 houses stacked on top of each other, and then one of those houses, a giant house made of ice, just falls and lands in the water, you wouldn't want to be underneath that. So you stay far away from it. But it all lands in the water. And so it makes loud sounds and big splashes. And I actually have some videos that I can send you guys of it and some photos that I took.
Can we see them?
He'll send them probably after.
I will send them.
Hey,
and they have a lot of chocolate. You don't want me to record?
He's going to record each day.
Why?
So he can look back on them.
Yeah, in case you guys ever want to look back at them.
Okay.
It'll be fun. When you're like my age and you look back at these, you'll be like, wow, look how fun this was. Yeah, we make a lot of chocolate. Eye roll.
I love chocolate.
Quinn's kind of mastered that in this last year.
I love chocolate so much. I want to go to Argentina. I love chocolate.
They love making chocolate, and they would love for you to come have their chocolate. Hayden, you should definitely go. There's glaciers, there's chocolate, and there's penguins. There's tons of penguins. And the penguins
can I go
all...
hidden apple penguins?
Aren't they hidden right now?
You hit them, so you can go. You can.
Yeah. We'll take a picture of them later today and send them to Uncle
I remember where one of them was.
We will take a picture and send them to Uncle Drew later today. Right now, we're listening to what he has to say.
Mommy made Emperor Penguin peg dolls.
That sounds pretty cool. I would love to see a picture.
They're so cute.
Okay, back to what Uncle Drew is.
The cutest. And they all live on the very, very south side of the island. So you won't find them in the city up here or anywhere up in the mountains, but all the way down here where it's icy. They live down here. And one of the things that's crazy about penguins, I don't know, maybe you already know this, is they're really good swimmers. And so they'll jump in the water and they'll swim for hours and go all the way out to the ocean, 30 miles of swimming, just right in a row. And they'll eat fish. And they'll eat until they are so full they can't eat any more fish. And then they'll swim 30 miles back all the way up the river and find a nice place on the land to take a nap. And then they'll hang out and sleep and snuggle with their friends for 2 days. So they eat only like infrequently, a couple times a week. but then they eat a lot and they swim a lot and they're really fast.
I liked your explanation of that.
Good. And that's actually one of the fun things. If you look at the color of the penguin, you see how its belly is white and its back is black?
Oh, look, baby penguins. They're so fluffy. Yeah, I see.
So they won't get seen by killer whales when they're swimming. So they're swimming, and the reason they come all the way back in from the ocean is because they don't want to get eaten by the whales, because the whales are hungry too. And the whales prefer eating penguins over fish because it's big. And so they're like, I want to eat the penguin. And the penguin's like, I'm going to have a dark back. So when the whale looks down looking for penguins, I'm going to blend in and camouflage with the bottom of the ocean. But if the whale is beneath me and it's looking up for penguins, I'm going to blend in with the sky with my white belly. And so they're camouflaging to be sneaky. What do you guys know about being sneaky?
You have to be hidden a lot.
That's right.
And be very quiet.
That's right. And fast. Anyone's trying to find you.
Penguins. Mommy, look at those fluffy baby penguins.
Yes, fluffy baby penguins are cute.
Fluffy baby penguins.
Now, one of the things that's really cool in Argentina is this waterfall. It is enormous. It's bigger than Niagara Falls in Canada. And it is all the way up here in the northeast part of the country, up where these stars are. So it's right at the border. It's called Iguazu. Iguazu.
Remember you've learned about it before?
Yeah.
It's like iguana and zoo. Iguazu.
I thought it was in Brazil.
It is also in Brazil. It's right at the border. And that's one of the really interesting things about this town is it actually is at the border of Brazil, Argentina, and Paraguay. So there's 3 different cities here that all border the waterfall. And you can walk across the border. So you don't even have to get in a plane. You don't have to get in a car. You can just walk right across. That's what I did. I put my backpack on and I walked across the border, and they checked me at the border and they said, is that a penguin? And I said, no, I am a human. I am from the United States of America. And they said, are you sure you're a human? And I said, yes, I am sure I'm a human. And then they said, okay, you can come to Brazil now. And then I did the same thing and I went into Paraguay. It was very weird.
What do you think?
I like that. They didn't think you were a penguin.
Yeah, it's because I didn't have the camouflage. That's why. If I had the camouflage, they might have thought so. Now, does it look hot or cold here?
Hot.
Yes, it is very hot and humid. So they have ice all the way down in the south, but they have hot and green culture all the way up in the north, which means what? Do they have penguins or different animals?
Different animals.
Bingo. This is called the coati. Look at its tail. How funky is that? And they're everywhere. When I was walking around, there were like hundreds of them. And they aren't scared of people either. In fact, they want to come and steal your snacks. They're kind of like the monkeys. And so they'll like sneak up behind you and see if you're going to drop a pretzel. And they're in the trash cans and they're everywhere. They're just like trying to get all the food.
If I saw one and I had like a tiny bit of food, I would just like drop it and I'll watch it scurry up right to me. So
You would probably you'd probably have 10 of them surrounding you and jumping on you.
They have jaguars and
They
they have toucans.
They have toucans and they have jaguars and they have snakes. I wasn't going to show any pictures of snakes because they can be pretty big and gross. But they do have jaguars right there.
Will they hunt you down?
Probably not. They prefer not to eat humans. They like to eat things like coatis. And they aren't going to show up when humans are around. Because humans, they get scared of jaguars. And so the humans would probably attack it out of safety. So the jaguar, what it will do is it'll stay away from all the humans. And it'll look for smaller animals that it can eat. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like the thing. They're so cute.
Most animals are more afraid of humans than humans are afraid of animals. Like sometimes if you ever see a spider, and you get scared of a spider, for example, the spider is much more scared of you. Because, you know, if you think of like a giant, right? Like imagine yourself seeing a giant human who is 100 times your size or 200 times your size. You'd be pretty scared, right? That's what the spider's thinking. It's like, whoa, what is this huge person? And it's really scared of you. And so if you're ever afraid of a spider, think about it. It's actually more afraid of you. And that's how most animals are. They're afraid of a human more so.
I want 10 of those things to follow me if I drop a little bit of food on them. Yeah. If I just drop a tiny bit of food and then one scurries off and then a ton of them scurry it to me, and I would have a whole pack of them following me.
Probably.
I would like that.
And then you could put them in your bag and bring them home and have them as pets.
Yeah.
You actually could?
No.
They actually can be pets?
One of the videos that I'll send you guys is with tons of butterflies. I saw more butterflies in Iguazu by that waterfall than I've seen anywhere else in my life. And I walked through a tunnel of them, thousands of them. And I'll send you the video. It was crazy. Okay, so we talked about the West, we talked about the South, we talked about the Northeast, now we talk about the North. And in the North, they have mountains and desert. And so it looks like Arizona. It's crazy. So this is all the way over here, up in this red rocky area. It's one of the driest areas in the world. In fact, this part right across the border in Chile is called the Atacama Desert. And the Atacama Desert is the driest place in the world. It gets no rain, ever. Ever, ever. And if it rains, yeah, almost no animals are there. And so when it rains, if it on rare occasion rains, a lot of the things that live there actually like don't survive because they're so adapted to being in dry climates. They don't like the water. And so when it rains, those really, really dry things, they get stressed. So this is some of the animals that live there though. So they do have some funky looking things. Not the jaguars. I don't think the jaguars live there, but they have llamas up in that area and some of these little cuties.
What is that? A beaver? A badger?
What is that thing? A mole? Oh, what is that thing?
It's so some kind of armadillo.
No, what is?
It's a pink armadillo.
What is the thing in the grass?
In the green, in the grass on the left, 3 down.
This one? This one?
No, sorry, but
the
all the way to the left, next to the jaguar. One over.
Oh.
It looks like brown.
Not sure.
What is that? Is that a groundhog with a
it's
boat on its back?
Capybara. Yeah, that's a bird on its back. They must be friends. It's a capybara. It looks like a groundhog. They have weird names of different types of animals. You know how there's like 100 kinds of monkeys? Sometimes there's like a lot of different types of groundhogs or a lot of different types of cats or a lot of different types of dogs. And so this is like some kind of groundhog thing.
There's a lot of different types of cats.
That there are.
For example, lions.
Lions.
All right, keep focused.
All right, this is the capital city. It is called Buenos Aires. And one of the crazy things about Buenos Aires, and one of the crazy things about Argentina in general, is that most of the people in South America, the color of their skin is darker. You have friends who are from Mexico, right?
Yeah.
And their skin's a little bit darker, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what most people look like throughout South America. They have a little bit darker skin. But in Argentina, most people have much whiter skin like we do. And that's because almost all of them are from Europe. They're from Italy, and they're from Germany, and they're from Spain, and they've all sort of moved over to Argentina over the years because Spain, 300 years ago, for a short period of time, said Argentina was like their new favorite place. So everyone wanted to go to their new favorite place, and everyone was moving down to Argentina. And they're like, hey, check us out. We're in a different continent. And now there's a lot of white people.
That's cool.
True story.
And then they get married, and then they have children, and then so on and so on and so on.
Exactly. And so the architecture actually kind of looks like Spain, doesn't it? It looks very similar to what we looked at in Spain. It's very similar to Spain and Italy. Now, there's also really colorful neighborhoods where they paint the houses all kinds of crazy colors. And there's beaches, but the beaches are really crowded. Look how many people there are. I went to this beach, and it's because they don't have a lot of beach areas. So the beaches that they do have, everyone goes, and you like can't even find sand. It's crazy. So what a lot of people do is they go to the country, their neighbor's country, which is called Uruguay, where they have beautiful beaches, much more like what you guys have probably seen before. And this country, Uruguay, it's the one right over here. So from the capital, Buenos Aires, people just hop on a little boat, and it's a 1-hour ride across the shore, and then they'll go to beaches all along the coast here in Uruguay.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, it's just like if you were to drive to the shore. You drive for an hour. Here they jump on a boat, and they're there in an hour. Same kind of thing.
Why are there like fingers sticking out of the sand, like fake ones?
It's art. I can send you some photos of when I was there. It's like a hand coming out of the ground.
That's
crazy.
Sand. You know how in Ocean City they have the sand sculptures that we see? Yeah, there's a guy who does like all like stuff of Jesus or Bible stories. The art is really cool. The way that he does it and fixes them after rainstorms and stuff. It's really interesting. So that's a similar thing. It's just different subject matter.
Yeah, that's not sand.
Yeah.
Please don't hit
a little bit different. Okay, so some of the things they like to eat in Argentina. There are 2 things that you should know. Number 1, empanadas. They have this in a lot of places throughout South America, but these little breads, they're little breads stuffed with meats and cheeses and sauces and vegetables and all different kinds. But it's just like, imagine a piece of toast or like a mini quesadilla. It's like that, and they're super duper yummy. They hate spicy food. They absolutely hate spicy food in Argentina. They can't even tolerate it. If you gave them a little bit of spicy food and they ate it, their whole body would start sweating and they'd jump up and run around like this.
They actually do?
Some people who are really sensitive will do
And
that.
they jump up and run around like this.
So crazy.
So that's the one thing they love to eat. The other thing is meats. They eat so much meat. So it's not good for a vegetarian like me, but they have every single kind of meat, and they love to eat it. They eat it all the time.
Yum, yum, yum. Yum.
There's also one other area, which is called Mendoza, and this would be your mom and dad's favorite place, and it would be Mimi and Pops' favorite place in Argentina, because this is where they make all the wine. It's right next to this fertile region, next to the mountains, and all the ice and snow from the mountains, it melts, and it makes this whole area perfect for growing grapes and wine. And the wine is so cheap and so delicious. In fact, some of the wine that your parents drink and that Mimi and Pops drink, it's all from Argentina. Not all of it, some of it. But they make some of the best wines, and there it's so cheap because they don't have to drive it or fly it all the way to the US. You can just take it right from Mendoza. So for $3, you can have a $20 bottle of wine. It's crazy.
Yum, 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 yum.
For $3? Weird.
Yeah, super cheap. It's like cheaper than going to McDonald's.
Their favorite game is soccer.
Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed? Yep, their favorite game is soccer, and they love soccer, just like Spain. Because as I said before, this was like Spain's favorite place to hang out a couple hundred years ago, right? So like tons of Spanish people, tons of Italian people, they're all down there, and they're like, hey, we're in Argentina, and we like soccer, and so we're gonna play the soccer. And they played soccer, and they still do. You liked that lesson?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I'm glad.
Hey Drew, I don't know if you knew this before getting on the call, but big announcement, the Olympics have been officially postponed by a year.
Wow, wild.
Pretty crazy. It popped up on my phone as news feed. So
interesting. Yeah, I didn't know. The race that I participated in, Rach, or that got canceled, is like a really expensive one, $300, and they're refusing to refund it.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like going back and forth with them on it, and they're like, "Hey, sorry, like you can apply it towards these other like 100-kilometer races." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to run a 100-kilometer race in September or next year. Like, please give me a refund." And they're like, "Nope."
Fine.
That is obnoxious.
I know.
Yeah.
I've sent them multiple notes, so it's super sad.
Mhm.
But it is what it is. It's their decision to make, and they already have my money, so there's not much I can do about it.
True. Is that your way of saying goodbye today? What do you guys think of Argentina?
Great, I love it. I want to go there.
It's amazing. It's so nice.
That's my favorite country.
It's one of my favorites too.
Maybe at the end of this, once we're all done learning about, not all the countries, but all the countries Uncle Drew's going to teach us about, you can say, hey, Uncle Drew, if at some point in my life I could go with you to any country, it would be, and you could pick one. I don't know that that will ever work, but it's something you can think about as a maybe possibility, since Uncle Drew likes to travel so much.
Okay.
True.
Feet.
All right,
Feet.
time to go.
Feet.
It's Uncle Drew's bedtime.
Bye. Bye.
Ciao.